I almost became a stepdad. Here's what happened. I fell in love with a woman who had a kid. And this would have been in Argentina. And she was a wonderful person. We connected instantly. Something that you should know is that she didn't speak any English. And so I had to learn to speak Spanish to talk to her, and things were going fantastic. I felt like I had actually hit the jackpot and I was on my way to being married, and this would have been it for me, right? And I thought that everything was going smoothly until I realized a couple of things about being a stepdad. One, now you may already know this, but this was news to me. This was my first time, being in this role. Kids are very expensive, and the least of the cost is actually energy. They're emotionally draining, they're time draining. And if you're doing that for someone that's yours, a kid that's yours, it's no problem. I'll do it all day for my kids. But for someone else's genetic offspring to be draining my energy, it's a different type of feeling. And it feels like almost unrewarding because the level of stress that kids cause would be worth it if the kid is mine, right? Like Billie Jean. Billie Jean is not my love. That would be worth it, right? Because kids are very stressful. And if you ever worked in education, you've ever been a babysitter, you know that kids test your every nerve. They don't listen, they throw things, they cry all mornings of the night, they wake up for no reason, right? And instead of sleeping when they're tired, they cry when they're tired and then they sleep, which makes no sense to me, right? You have no privacy, they eat all your food. I love grapes. This kid stole all my grapes, but those things are funny. But it came down to a point where I really started to, I'll be honest, I started to love the kid as well. And it made me sad that one day there could be a possibility that this kid would one day tell me, but you're not even my real dad. Now the kid was 2 years old. Now imagine I pour my life energy for the next 15, 16, 17 years. Then when this kid turns 17 and we're talking about college, or 18 and we're talking about college, and the kid potentially might turn to me and say, you're not even my real dad, that would probably crush me. And that made me so sad to think about. And every time I saw the kid playing as, I felt myself falling in love, and it would, it was he, I should stop saying it because that's my dude. He would come to me and we get closer, and I saw him opening up more to me and trusting me more, and he would cry less when he was in my arms, and I felt myself getting so close, and it scared me. That's one. And I have to be honest with myself as a man. And this is obviously, I had a conversation with the mother of the child first, the person that I thought I would have married in Argentina. But it scared me. And then the second thing is that I didn't realize how sad it would make me that this kid would never be mine. It made me very, very sad. Because here's the thing. I'll put that aside and talk about something else. A good mother is supposed to prioritize her children. That's what any good mother does. And that's what I would want the mother of my kids to do. I am not your priority. Prioritize the kids. Make sure that they're happy. I'm good. Prioritize them. I will prioritize you, etc. And we have a good home. Right? So then it comes from top down. Man, wife, kids. Cool? Cool. So then, her prioritizing her son made me feel like I was the only person inside of the room, for the most part, that had no genetic interest. I was the stranger, and I felt like I was intruding on something that was deeply personal. And maybe that's because of our relationship. Maybe it was new. Maybe it was the language barrier. Maybe it was just the person that didn't make me feel at home. Maybe. I don't think that was it, but maybe, right? It's a possibility. Maybe over time I'll think about it more, and maybe I might change my answers on this. But that's how I felt. I knew that for sure. I felt like an outcast in this trio. And I didn't want to, because I cared for them so much. And it broke my heart that I would never be a part of them. You understand what I'm saying? That it would always be outside of the circle. And that's a hard thing for me as a man to stomach. And I also feel like I would never be more important to her than her son. I would never, that's how I felt at least, which again, a good mother should. However, it stung me because I never got to her, I never got to enjoy her singleness, right? I never got to enjoy a period of time where we were each other's main priority because we came into the picture of she already having someone to take care of. And so then there was no period of time where I got to take care of her and she got to take care of me and we got to grow together and then add kids to that. You see what I'm saying? And I think this is what went through my mind sometimes. Was I actually jealous? No. Stick a pin in that. There's actually a good amount of men who do report feeling jealous unexpectedly when their own children come into the picture. Because all of the attention that used to go to them, you know, the wife used to be able to cook for you when you came home and she would care for you and she'd know when you were sad and she'd rub your head and all these things, that all of that attention that used to go to you as the man now goes towards the kids. Now the kids are a priority and you get second place. And that can affect a lot of men. That's why so many divorces happen when kids come, right? Because kids change so much. And I wouldn't say I felt jealous 100% of the time, but I distinctly remember feeling sometimes, damn, F this kid. You know, that's a natural parent instinct. So, you know, take this as a joke. It's not that I don't love the kid. It's not that I don't care for the kid. But at the same time, I was like, oh, man, I just want to spend some time alone with the girl that I chose. And it's not that I don't appreciate the kid. Again, if it were my own kid, I can see myself feeling the same way. But what I am saying is that when it's not your kid, when it's not your genetic offspring, I think that makes it sting a little bit more sometimes. And I had to be honest with myself. So those were some of the things that went through my mind. Why I almost became a stepfather. But here's what I learned from actually being a stepfather. Because I think there's a lot of content out there that talks about a real man steps up and takes care of a woman's kids. And I will say, one, it's not easy, which is why I will say I somewhat agree with that statement. It takes a real man to actually do that, to love women who have kids already. And I would agree with that. I think if I were not traveling, we would still be together because we had that good of a connection. But I think that at this stage of my life, I have to travel. I have to do these things. I don't know why, but I was called to do it. And so I'm traveling, I'm making YouTube videos, and I cannot stop because I knew that it would make me unhappy because of how unhappy I was becoming. And I don't really get to control, you know, I do, but if I'm feeling unhappy and this is the thing that is making me unhappy, and I know that's what's causing it, it doesn't make sense for me to go through 2 years of this, absolutely make everybody around me miserable, and then leave after 2 years. It's better that I leave now. So that's what ended up happening. And we left peacefully. There was never any fights. It was heartbreak for the both of us, but we knew that we could not continue. And we still feel deeply for each other. That doesn't mean that I will do something about it, right? However, the thing is, when you are becoming a stepfather, you have to understand that very quickly, you start to think differently. You are no longer thinking about just her and thinking about dates. Now you're thinking about, do the kids need? Have they eaten? Where are the kids? Are they safe? Who are they with? Now I need to spend time getting to know the kid so that I can actually impart wisdom as well. What are some of the things that, you know, I need to know to bring this kid up better? What are some of the values I need to teach him or her? These are some of the things that you need to think about. Now, suddenly you need to learn how to change diapers. You need to learn how to cut food. You need to know what your kid like, what's they're allergic to, etc. So quickly your mind changes. And it's so crazy to me how quickly my mind was able to switch into that mode. I very quickly did not care about social media because it didn't matter. And I've never posted either of them to my social media. That's how much I cared about both of them because I just wanted to protect them from so many things. And it's so crazy how I was able to switch. The next thing is that there's another school of thought that says it's only weak men that find women who are single mothers. I could not disagree more. Any man who thinks like that is just a wimp. One of the richest men in the world, Jeff Bezos, he just married a single mom. You know, if you call him Jeff Bezos a simp, then you're a fucking idiot. So I would say that to the camera, anytime, any day. So that woman was so much more mature, so much more sure of herself, so much more confident. The decisions that she made, a woman without kids is just not able to think that way. Or at least not at that age. You'd probably have to be 10 years older than she was. Because she has a kid, she has to advance her life so quickly. And so it's very attractive when a woman is able to switch and think so much further ahead because she has to, because kids demand that of you. And so then now, when we get to sit down and talk about money, it's no longer a case of this is abstract. She understands why we need money. So then we can actually talk about, hey, this is a plan to make money. This is why we're doing it. We're doing it with kid. We're doing it so that we can travel. And it's very clear. And we're talking about numbers. He know how much things cost, etc. A lot of women do not operate that way. So it made it very different. And most single moms are very mature in this way because they have to be, right? And so I love that. So then I think personally, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people who are outside of 9 to 5s would do well with people who are single moms. But I'll tell you about that discussion for another time. Still, that's actually how I nearly became a stepmom, how I nearly became a stepdad. I was never close to being a stepmom. But that's actually how I almost became a stepdad. It was a great experience. I think in another lifetime, I could definitely be a stepdad. I don't think it would ever stop me from pursuing someone I love, but traveling definitely has. And so, right now, if I am to date another single mom, I don't think I could stop traveling for the sake of this relationship. But if they're able to travel with me and we are able to share some of that cost, maybe. Or maybe if I'm 10 times richer than I am right now, and I'm able to just say, you know what, come along, it's fine, I'll pay for everything, then that might change too. Not many men are able to do that in the world. I know I'm definitely not at that stage yet to pay for a kid. A woman, yes. Kid, that's a whole nother story in terms of cost. I'm not sure if you know this. I eat twice a day. Kids eat like 5 times a day. That's fucking crazy, right? So that kind of thing. But that's the story. If you like that story, let me know. If you resonated with this, if you have questions, I'm happy to answer. This was me being vulnerable, just telling a story. This is an unconventional video, so yeah. All right. Click to watch the next video.